Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this video I wanted to continue the discussion of free-to-play fighting games, whether this should be a thing or not for the future for fighting games. This has been a ongoing discussion or topic as of recent. I actually talked about this myself a while back, pretty much spilling my thoughts about it, but I kind of want to try to do my best to take that further without trying to repeat some of the things I've repeated before, but I'm probably going to do that anyway. But anyway, before I spill all that, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like these, and I really do appreciate it. So anyway, more of the fighting game content creators out there have been discussing, especially on Twitter, about whether fighting games should go free to play or not. And this again has been going on because free to play has potential for something like fighting games. First off, I do agree with it overall. I think fighting games should at least try the free-to-play model of monetization, I guess you can call it. And there are several reasons why. Obviously, there are just many reasons as to why it could benefit it and why fighting games are this way and that way. One thing I can say is that, first off, fighting games are pretty hard to get into, and probably the hardest gaming genre to get into, or at least maintain the motivation to keep playing it, for many reasons. And by the end of it, the hardcore fighting game fans and players are going to likely stick around with it because they are likely to be more competitive, or they're just really hardcore about fighting games. And I mean, obviously, of course, again, there's several reasons as to why this all kind of is the case for most fighting games. One thing fighting games do not have in common, for sure, when it comes to a lot of the games that have maintained high player counts, such like League of Legends and Apex Legends and all that other stuff. First off, you have the one thing those games have over fighting games is just things to blame on. Mostly, randos and teammates and such like that to, make yourself feel a little better about yourself, even though you're likely kind of like your own fault sort of thing, your own worst enemy. But people naturally just don't want to admit to that, and they want to kind of like fluff up their ego or something rather like that to get by and whatever as they're trying to play these games. You can't really do that with fighting games because it's just you and your opponent, and you really don't have much to go off of. And nowadays fighting games are starting to get better netcodes. So in the past, a lot of people just blame it on the netcode, but now that the netcode is getting better, especially with the rollback implementation with more of these major fighting games, starting with Guilty Gear Strive, what else can you blame it on? Are you gonna blame it on your equipment? Are you gonna blame it on the opponent being cheap or something like that? I mean, you can only go so far with those excuses. So the only thing you have is to blame is yourself, and that's because fighting games for the most part require lots of time and dedication to get really good at. And sometimes it takes less time for others, and players see that, and they become more frustrated with themselves over time, and sometimes they can't figure some things of why they can't get over this hurdle or beat this demon of theirs, or whatever the case may be, or they can't beat this particular character in the fighting game. and of course, there are many cases and reasons, but those are just some of the common ones I can kind of think of on top of my head. So a lot of those factors will play into why people tend to sort of fall off from these fighting games real quickly. And besides having no single player, that sort of thing too. But again, there's just a lot of factors to it. But when it comes to specifically the online competitive experience, that's kind of some of the things that do come into mind. Also, what comes to mind is, when you rank up in online fighting games, I mean, what do you really get? That level of satisfaction isn't all that there. You're not really rewarded with anything, especially when it comes to in the past, games like Street Fighter V, where when you win, you just win like 100 currency, fight money, and then when you lose, it's like what 50 or something like that. But when you look at how much stuff was in the store or the in-game store, you have a long way. Even if you do win, so meaning if you don't win a lot, you have an even longer road ahead of you. So that's why people do fall off of that as well. So again, there's just a lot of reasons. So there's a lot of problems with fighting games trying to keep the modern sort of players nowadays. And if fighting games do take note of these free-to-play characteristics, then perhaps there is way more potential for fighting games to be a lot more sustainable in the future when it comes to keeping players excited and motivated to do. So because of the reasons I mentioned not too long ago, that is why fighting game, or a lot of people in the fighting game sort of community have been sort of thinking about these free-to-play characteristics. So there's a lot to offer at the table here for free-to-play sort of aspects. As someone who has played a lot of free-to-play games in the past, including Fate Grand Order, Epic 7, Azure Lane, all those gacha RPGs, you know what I mean? And especially with the recent one, I've been playing Genshin Impact, for a very long time at this point. I definitely have my experience with these models. And they could definitely carry over to fighting games to make it a lot more pleasing and a lot more enticing to get on and just do stuff. Of course, as of recent also, I've been playing Apex Legends, another, free-to-play game, of course shooting, but the model is there to keep players like myself coming back to it and, keep earning stuff. And that's what, fighting games need. It's just stuff for you to earn. What can you earn? Well, there are a lot of ideas on the table. You can check out a number of videos that have been discussing sort of ideas for free-to-play fighting games. I mean, you could take out some of them, like I think it was Brawlhalla or Rivals of Aether. You can take a look at those as well as what fighting games could look like when it comes to the free-to-play model. And those sort of games have maintained an audience of a lot of people for a very long time at this point, very effectively rather. So there is potential there. There is definitely some potential there to help maintain those numbers and potentially make fighting games a lot more sustainable and on a more monetizing side of things. And therefore, keep a healthy player base, keep players sort of happy to be able to find opponents at their level. That's another reason why too. Like the matchmaking experience can suck. You're wind up with the higher ranking players because all the other lower ranking players have fallen off, or playing something else that satisfies them or entices them and whatever. Again, if fighting games take the free-to-play characteristics, it could potentially help with that too. And what do I mean by characteristics from free-to-play games? Well, if you take a look at a game like Apex Legends, they have something like a battle pass. And when you work on a battle pass, you don't have to put money into it. But if you do put money into it, you only get more rewards. But for the most part, you can even earn the currency that lets you buy the battle pass, of course. Well, of course, you have to put down money at the start, like $10 or something like that. Usually, that's how much these battle passes cost. So $10. And these battle passes tend to really help with keeping players sort of in their seat to keep playing these games. How so? I mean, they have these rewards. They have other things that kind of add up to it. Like when it comes to rewards, it could be like skins, it could be emotes, taunts, win quotes. When it comes to fighting game catering to fighting games, you know what I mean? Switch up these sort of assets with like Ryu's Hadouken, for example. It could be just like a generic fireball. It could be like a magic themed fireball or something. These are just ideas I've heard from other channels that talked about this stuff, including the Ultra Chin channel on their Tuesday show. They've kind of discussed that idea, and I kind of do see it as a potential idea that could pretty much work, because games like Fortnite too, I mean, they're all just skins, they're all just modeling the same character, so potentially you can grab skins of other characters and slap them onto the pre-existing characters like Ryu, Chun-Li, and whoever, right? And that could be another way to make people try to grab these skins within a time period or so. It could be limited time. These skins can come back to the store at the set price. You can buy it if you want, you know what I mean? But if you want it now, it'd probably be cheaper. But if you want to wait later, or if you don't want to book on the battle pass and whatever, these skins can come back to the store, but they'll cost at a higher price because time exclusivity stuff, whatever. That's how Apex Legends does. That's just kind of what I'm kind of like trying to model it in my head, you know what I mean? And they could definitely work as a start. Another way to keep players coming back, I guess, is maybe music packs that could be like remixes of pre-existing songs or themes and pieces of music in the past. Mix it, remix it, make it a little different, or new ones as well, of course. When it comes to fighting game related stuff, you could throw in new stages, new stuff for stages, add-ons for stages, maybe even. There's a lot of possibilities with how free-to-play stuff can be done to fighting games. Another important thing what fighting games need to do is make the players feel satisfied while throwing in the important fundamentals to help them learn the important stuff for fighting games, footsies and movement and anti-airs and all that stuff. Basic but very important fundamentals should be taught somehow to players, and while doing so, you have to satisfy them somehow. One potential idea that could be done is when the battle pass starts, right? Like in Apex Legends, you have the battle pass, and then you have the achievements to help up the experience rate to level up your battle pass. And one way to do so is to, for example, one specific example for an achievement is land Ryu's heavy punch this many times, right? In online matches. You'll come to eventually learn how to land Ryu's heavy punch one way or the other. How could I land Ryu's heavy punch in this match, especially against various characters of various shapes and sizes and attacks and moves and stuff like that. Okay, maybe I should throw a heavy punch after they throw their heavy punch to whiff punish them, and that could be a way to help teach them somehow, right? Now, it's not going to work for everyone, obviously. There's always exceptions, and not every learning style is going to help everyone learn something, right? But this could work potentially for many more people that way. If you win matches with Ryu this many times, you can get this much experience. If you land Kami's super this many times, then you can also earn this many currency or experience or whatever, right? And I feel like we can definitely play around with these ideas very much so, in order for this whole thing to be effective, especially with the battle pass thrown in there too. And that's how games like Apex Legends have been keep coming back with these seasons, all time around. And of course, now of course with each season, they can like throw in a new character for free. I mean, that's how they've been doing it too. For each season, they always add a new character in there for free, or you can unlock it with the in-game currency, right? In Apex Legends, you can unlock them with real money, or you can unlock them with in-game currency, with the legend coins. You could go either way. It's for them to earn money, or for you to do it the old-fashioned way, just like before. And it's pretty reasonable. I mean, at least in Apex Legends, it's a reasonable rate. You level up 20 times, which doesn't take too long. I mean, as long as you play the game kind of consistently, then you can unlock that character right off the start. You know, if you have that currency up and ready. I mean, you know, it really all depends on how the fighting game companies are going to model these free to play sort of monetization sort of models, you know. And there's so many ways they're going to be doing it, so it's really hard to say. I mean, which one is going to be more effective and which was going to come to the top and stuff like that. But I feel like if they look at something like Apex Legends or whatever, any other, you know, big game, I mean, maybe Fortnite or something. I don't play Fortnite, so that's why I'm not mentioning Fortnite as much. I play Apex Legends, so that's why I'm talking about Apex Legends. You know, that I keep coming back to that game because there's, you know, there's stuff to unlock. You know, there's always new content for me to grab, especially the music packs, which I do wish they put them in stores. But anyway, that's for another video. You know, games like Street Fighter can definitely benefit these sort of models, right? You know, like I said, they could do skins, do music packs, stages, taunts, new taunts, right? Flip the assets, right? Or change up the assets, change the color of your fireball, change the color of your flash kick, change the color of your whatever, you know? And there's just so many ways that could go about it, you know? And if this is all done right, then it can definitely, you know, flourish much better. You know, there's like I said, you know, if you teach them the fundamentals while giving them rewards for it, that is all the more enticing for them to keep playing it. Like I said, if you do something like, oh, land Reed's heavy punch this many times, or land his medium crouching medium kick this many times, or if you let's say give them the more challenging ones, like, oh, land a 10-hit combo with this character or something like that, you'll get this many experience. But you know, if you don't get that achievement somehow, there's always other achievements for you to work on too, and you still get as many experience points or stars or however they're gonna do it, as much as the next achievement. You know, you still got to put in time into it either way. I mean, that's all it's all about with these fighting games. You got to put your time into it to be good at it, you know. But there needs to definitely be things to help you kind of maintain that sort of routine, because there's a lot of things that will demotivate you right now if you try to play fighting games as it is. You know, for example, the $60 initial price, right? And then you have the $30 DLC, a couple of stages here and there, some costume packs. You know what I mean? It's already going to add up so much for a game that you might play for only like what, 2 weeks, right? Or, you know, maybe a little longer, maybe a month at the most, maybe a season or two, right? But you're going to fall off eventually, for most people anyway. And while the hardcore are still going to be around, they're going to be really good at the game by that time. And when you try to come back to it, see if you're, if you can even keep up with these players, you can't, because you haven't put enough time into it. But you haven't put enough time to it because it's really not that fun, you know, at the end of it. And I do see that. I admittedly, I've gone through a phase like that for some fighting games. And, you know, there are some other fighting games that, while I do like it, there are other detriments that, you know, that kind of keep me back from coming back to this game consistently, you know, whether it be the online experience, whether it just be the gameplay itself, the mechanics I don't like, maybe it's the characters that I can't find for myself, I don't know, you know, and or just the toxicity even with the players I come across, even, I don't know, it all just depends on each case here. Now, I know you're already thinking, free-to-play means always online. You know, you can't access to your data unless the servers are online and such. And there are times where if the servers are in maintenance mode, you can't access to your stuff. You can't even play the game even. You know, a lot of these games, like Genshin Impact and FGO or Fate Grand Order and such, of course, and even, you know, Apex Legends, when they go into maintenance, you know, you can't even hit the start screen, right? And, you know, of course, what's going to happen with these fighting games if they're online only, right? Now, free to play doesn't really necessarily mean online only. There could be an offline portion, right, where you can play your single players, you can play your offline, 1v1s or whatever it is, your versus modes, with your friend locally, or your locals, right? At your locals, you can play the versus modes. There's always a training mode, of course, right? Those can be offline. But when it comes to the multiplayer side of things, the online side of things, of course, that's the part that you can't access to when it's offline or in server maintenance mode. So there is possibly a way to get around this whole online only free to play thing. It's definitely possible for parts of the important bits of fighting games to be offline as well as online, well, maybe like, you should be able to grab the costumes offline or something like that. That could be hopefully be a thing, but I imagine if free to play stuff is implemented, there could be a time where you can't access to your costumes or whatever when it's in server maintenance mode, but you can still access to the character. You just can't access to, well, all your goodies possibly. But there could be a way for fighting games to be able to sort of jump back and forth with online and offline and such, so that way, well, you can have all your goodies from the free-to-play aspect of things, but you can also keep on with your fighting game traditions, with the tournaments and offline local stuff, all local matches and such. So there is a possibility, but it really all is a matter of execution from each company. How they're going to do it. Is it going to be egregious? Is it going to be great for players? That's where it really lies into. I mean, there are good sides and bad sides, of course, with free-to-play games. And for the most part, I mean, they've all been online, but there is a possibility of doing it so that you can have both an offline portion that could work and an online-only portion where it makes sense, right? So now when it comes to games that will come out in recent times, free-to-play mode, probably not going to be a good example or best example, but it could be a start. It could be something for the future of fighting games. So overall, I want to reiterate that yes, I think fighting games should start to consider the free-to-play model, and as much as it may sound, terrifying or scary, or it could suck. I can definitely understand that, because there are free-to-play games that have shut down and they have been completely, disappeared from the radar of of its player base, right? For example, Dragalia Lost is going to disappear sometime this year, and once it disappears, all your characters, all the money that you put into, is all gonna go down the drain. That's how it works for these gacha games for right now. It sucks, but that's just kind of how it works. But when it comes to fighting games, I feel like they can definitely get around these things. They can definitely, go without doing stuff like that. Make an offline portion and keep the necessary stuff online mode only, and all that in between. So this definitely is going to be an ongoing discussion. There's definitely going to be more ideas kind of thrown across the table and stuff like that when it comes to free-to-play fighting games. But I think this is like something, right, to keep in mind, that free-to-play and fighting games can potentially go together and really help fighting games flourish a lot better that way. So sorry for the possibly long video, but I like fighting games, and I also play a lot of free-to-play games nowadays, especially with Apex Legends and Genshin Impact as of right now, and sometimes Azure Lane, and sometimes Epic 7 here and there, and a couple other games too. But that's how I kind of can see the good, but I also definitely can see the bad that a lot of people have been bringing up in these sort of recent discussions. But anyway, if you have any ideas or any opinions and thoughts about free-to-play and fighting games, mashed together possibly, leave me down in the comment section below. And I love would love to read them. And don't forget to like and subscribe. As like I said before, I really do appreciate it, guys, because it really does help out. So this has been my Hawke Talks on my ramblings and thoughts, continuation and stuff like that on the discussion of free-to-play and fighting games. Should they be free-to-play? I think so. There definitely is a potential for them to really help it without being too egregious, too greedy about it, you know, and stuff like that. So, hey, I mean, it'll please the suits, but hopefully it'll please the players as well. You know, there could be some balance of both. Hopefully it won't teeter-totter and scale too much to either side. So, I don't know. I mean, well, preferably teeter towards the player base, of course, but where's the money gonna go? I mean, or where the money's gonna come from or go for future support. That's sort of the catch-22 sort of thing that's been happening with these fighting games. So anyways, that's I'm gonna leave right here. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sean out.